All right, Light Warriors. Today we have a special guest, Kerry. She's been with me before, and a lot of us have been experiencing a timeline jump. And this year has been very eventful, and maybe your year has been very eventful. And we're going to be discussing that today and how we could take what we experienced this year and apply it going into 2024. Kerry, it's good to see you. How you been?
I've been good, but I've been good like this. Do you know what I'm saying? I've been good, but I've been sweating and I've been emotionally purging, and it's been rough, but it's been real and beautiful. Because let's be honest, we're busy dealing with stuff now that honestly we couldn't have dealt with 10 years ago. We couldn't, maybe even 1 year ago. What we're dealing with right now is at a level that I think most people don't even understand. And granted, most people are exhausted and most people are in some level of overwhelm, but I don't think they realize how much they're dealing with. So that's a long answer to how I am. I am good, but at the same time, I am human and I am dealing with my fair share.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Tell me about
Oh,
you.
it's been an eventful year, and now that we're at the end of the year, we kind of could turn around. As I share a lot, you can't know everything in life until you turn around and look what was behind you. And if we lived our lives backwards, then we would understand it. But we don't live our lives backwards. So we kind of were on the threshing floor this year. You know, I talked about the sorting that was happening. And this past year was really a year of dismantling so that we basically can have a course adjustment and be in alignment for where we're going in the future. And you know, I share with a lot of people, and it's so great to connect with you because it's a very rare thing to meet someone that is on your same frequency. And many people around the world kind of feel like, oh, there's no one like me. So you and I are very much the same. And I've been sharing how it's really been a course adjustment to put us in alignment. That's what all of the changes we went through were for this year. And you did a video talking about how our roles have changed, and it's really the same kind of result. Our roles have changed, and maybe we're going on one path, and God kind of readjusted us and say, okay, we have to go this way. Or maybe we had a lot of densities that needed to be cleared away because it kind of weighs us down. And once the clearing happens, and we don't like that as humans, we don't like change, but we had to go through this. So we had a little pruning, and we become less dense, and now we could move forward. So would you like to elaborate on how our roles have changed? And
Yeah. Yeah, it was huge. You know, we experienced, well, first of all, we've experienced so many timeline jumps this year, and some little ones that are almost not noticeable anymore. And I call them little ones, knowing full well that even a little timeline jump is pretty damn massive. But what we call now today a little timeline jump is in comparison with the quantum leaps that we're currently making. So we've made some quantum leaps this year. Now, I put out a video, Michael. Time is so weird. I don't even know when the heck it was. It was probably at the beginning of 2023 somewhere. And the video that I put out spoke about how we had gone into 2025. So this was at the beginning of 2023. I put out a video going, hey guys, we've just done this 2-year quantum jump into 2025. And this is what we did. We went into 25 and we kind of felt the air and the atmosphere and who is the 2025 future self, and then drew that into the current container, meaning the current you that you are. And you breathed that in and you integrated that in early 2023. And right now I look back at that and I go, actually, that wasn't such a big one. That was a medium size timeline jump. The jumps that we've done recently are asking us to integrate whole different versions of who we are. And the thing is that when we do that, when we elevate in such a quantum level, it sends the brain into such a discombobulated, overwhelmed space. Because as you know, you can no longer make sense of time. It's kind of like that rational brain that we're all conditioned to have starts to melt because it says, I can't keep up. I can't make sense of what I'm becoming. So one of the more recent timeline jumps that we did, we all as light workers, and this was really the first time that we did this, when we came together as light workers. Now, obviously, we didn't do this on the physical level. We did this for most of us in our dreamscape. So in our dream state, we came together as light workers and said, what do you need? And most people said, I need support. And what we collaborated on as a group of light workers was, okay, I'm going to take your role for a little bit and you take mine. So we had people who were what I call the front runners. And you know who the front runners are? There are a lot of your audience, Michael, and there are a lot of my audience. There are people who come to us and listen to us frequently because we help them to make sense of who they are. Those front runners are the ones who are running hell for leather and they don't even know why. They are purpose driven, but they don't even know what their purpose is. They're living with a sense of urgency and they don't even know rationally what is so urgent. These front runners are running towards ascension and they're pioneering and paving the ascension pathway. These are the true light warriors, and they are just working at such a pace. They're letting go so rapidly. They're integrating without even knowing what they're doing. There's no time for them to stop and pause. And these guys, the front runners, looked to, in most cases, the guys who were the anchor points. Now, the anchor points are another role. The anchor points, these are the guys who were anchoring because they were grounded. They were cool, for want of a better word. These are the guys that when you said, how you doing? They said, I'm cool. And they meant it. These were the guys. I wasn't one of them this year. I've been this person before, but I wasn't this person in 2023. The anchor points are the cool dudes and the cool girls who are like, they're unfazed. They're not in turmoil. They look at everybody else going through ascension symptoms and they go, what the hell is up with you? Like, what's your deal? So the anchor points are chilled because they're doing a very important thing on the planet. Their purpose is to ground higher frequency in. So they're working, but they don't look discombobulated like the front runners do. And then we had a group of people called the in-betweeners or the go-betweeners. They were like the yo-yos. And what they were doing is they were going into those who are front running and then into the anchor points, backwards and forwards. These are the people who would say, for example, I'm up and down. One moment I am absolutely elated. I'm blissed out. I'm peaceful. Life makes sense. And the next moment, I don't know who I am. I don't know what the point of life is. I don't want to be here anymore. It's all too much. And they are like yo-yos. They're everywhere because what they're doing is they're also serving a purpose. They're acting as a bridge, a very important, powerful bridge between the front runners and the anchor points. So we all came together and said, look, the front runners need to be anchors for a little while. The anchors need to be front runners for a little while. We need less yo-yos because we need less of that bridging service role and more of the anchoring role to come in now. So there was a whole shift. And so some people will keep the roles that they've had, but a lot of people will change the roles purely because they got fatigued from playing the same role, fatigued from feeling the same frequencies for too long, and needing to take on another set of frequencies, which is exactly what another role will allow them to do. So those are the three main roles of the light workers. There are, of course, a fourth group of people who I don't often talk about because they tend not to listen to videos like this. They tend to be the type of person that we would describe maybe as an unconscious person. And all that means, it doesn't mean that they're less, and it doesn't mean that they're behind the times. It just means they're taking their sweet time in waking up. And they're not there yet. And that's okay. They don't have to be. Nobody said everyone has to wake up, and if you don't wake up now, then you're a dummy. No one said that. It's simply, look, there's a lot of overachievers on the planet right now, and those are people like you and me and our audience. We are the overachievers. No one said we have to operate at the pace that we're operating at, yet here we are. So equally, there's the underachievers. There are those who are like, just chill, guys. Ascension's going to happen. So take your time, explore 3D, play around, get lost, because that's actually what we came here to do, right? We came here to lose the memory of who we were and to play out this life of unknowing and this life of forgetfulness. And those guys who are very heavy in their unconsciousness, they're kind of pulling the timeline down, or at least, Michael, they used to be. That was their role. They used to be pulling the timeline down so that we weren't springing ahead too far, too fast, too soon, and too quick. They were almost pacing us. And these guys were holding so much density and so much heartache and hardship that was actually the hardest role. Us light workers, we can say, oh, I had such a difficult task. The hardest task, guys, were those in the back who were holding the trauma but couldn't confront the trauma, holding the pain but couldn't confront the pain, holding all the density but had no way of even articulating, hey guys, I'm struggling here. All that they could do was go shopping or go out for a meal or go get distracted, go scroll through TikTok. That's all that they could do, right? So they really had a big burden. And part of the burden was these that we may call the unconscious ones. These were the people who in the false matrix were heading up reality creation. Because we lived in a false matrix, we lived in an inverted matrix. So what that means, guys, is that the guys in the back of the queue, in other words, the lowest, densest frequency, they were the ones tasked with the most creative energy. They were leading creation. They had the biggest creative say because that is inverted, that is upside down. In the natural universe, it's the other way around, which makes sense. In the natural universe, you're going to see the highest frequency lead. The highest frequency is going to have the most say in terms of the reality, the collective reality creation. The ones who hold the most density in the natural world, which we haven't yet been a part of, they're not going to have much creative output. In the inverted matrix, it was exactly the other way around. And now we have flipped that switch. That's part of what happened in 2023. In 2023, we won reality creation back, whereby the front runners got what I would refer to as the license to create on behalf of the collective. So it is the front runners now who are creating reality for the collective. And now those who were holding the unconsciousness, they don't really have the burden that they once had of needing to populate reality with their creations, with their pain, with their torment. They're going to feel very voiceless. They're going to feel very choiceless. They're going to feel very ignored. But that's what the light workers have felt for so long. And that's why the light workers felt that. And the spiritual warriors felt like nothing I do matters. No one sees me. There's no justice in the world because of that inverse reality creation set up that no longer exists. So we've had some monumental breakthroughs in terms of our timeline jumps and in terms of the roles that the timeline leaders are playing. And then, of course, in the overall correction to the false matrix and the realignment to the organic matrix in preparation for our ascension.
A lot of what you shared, really in alignment. So you spoke about going to 2025.
I saw you smile.
I'm taking notes. No, but I feel like it's good to show people how this plays out because so many people put things in a box and they say, oh, if you say this, I've studied so many things, and when I share to people, you got to look at the energy theme. And as Dr. Bruce Lipton says, you got to think of the energy behind the words, not that this label, that label,
Yeah.
and that's what we're here, doing, you and I today. So you talked about like it's 2025, and I recently did a video on the quickening and how we had 3 years in one. So as basically the time construct is ending. So I talk about the end of time. So it's not like it's like gloom and doom. Oh, it's the end of time. We
I
actually
get
should
it.
be we should be jumping for joy
Yeah.
that there is the
Mm,
end of time. And I said how it's just going to become like sunrise and sunset, and the
mm,
quickening time is speeding up. And if you're listening to this, why don't you leave a comment? Like, do you feel that time is speeding up? And the more that a person is holding on to the matrix, oh, I have to have this matrix job, I have to get this matrix marriage, I have to get this matrix social life, and like you're so exhausted. So time is, or the experience of time, it feels like it's speeding up. So when I look at 2023, I'm like, wow, it's over already. How did it go by so fast? But I
mm.
also feel like I had 3 years in one, because there's been
Exactly.
so many events,
Mm,
so much changes.
mm,
Um, People that are struggling. I feel that a lot of the things that we went through is so that we could become more authentic, embracing our authentic self, because we have lived a life that we needed to fit in to certain
mm,
programmings that didn't resonate with us. Uh, I talked about rest and digest. There was
yeah.
people that were feeling so tired that we needed to have rest and digest. And what we went through was a removal of an illusion.
Mm,
So all of
mm,
us, we might have had people in our lives, we might have been living a life, we might have had subconscious programs within us, and we were living this. Remember, 95% of our life is dictated by subconscious programs. So whether it's here, whether it's people in our, oh, I think this person is good, or I think this situation is good, we were all living a certain way. And that illusion, that matrix world, like you said, it was broken. It's already gone. And things happen in a delay in this density. So
yes.
that's why I tell people there's the power of now. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to do something. Do it now, because it's going to have it's going to take a bit of time to get there. So and we actually spoke about this last time, and there was a major timeline jump and there was minor timeline jumps. But we will never forget the Schumann resonance glitch of June.
Yeah.
And from that, and I'll never forget what happened during that time period. And my channel is Our Everyday Lives. And I take it's it feeds my soul to take a person that has no clue about all the spiritual wackadoo stuff, right? They have no clue. And I just use these terms, these examples. And I shared this on my Patreon group the other night. I was in the gym, speaking to a woman, and she starts talking to me, and the next day, and she's kind of like, I could see she's interested in these things, and she was saying she had a rough year. She just started watching the channel, and I go, by the way, when you had all this rough stuff, did this happen in June? Did your life fall apart in
Yeah.
June? She goes,
Yeah.
oh my God, let me tell you this. And I found out this and all this stuff. So I go, and I said, you have the app on your phone? So I said, just give me your phone. I just want to show you. I scroll down. I go to the June episode where I talk about the Schumann resonance glitch. So just watch this. And we were just talking, and she's like, wow, like, like everything. So there's a lot of people that are out there that might to go through a spiritual awakening, or to live this new life. You don't have to live off the land in a robe or something like that. You could live your everyday life and start to see that there's energies that are part of our world that affect us, that
Mm,
frequencies do play a role, and we're all changing our frequency. So what happens is we are broadcasting the signature out, and now that if you increased your frequency, the mirror principle, the life around you changes according to you. Become the change that you want to see in the world. So as my frequency has risen, stuff that no longer resonates, the lower frequencies, they fall off. That could happen to anyone. And then new people come in. Look, I mean, look how we connected. And, you know, I'm grateful for these connections. And you know what? Change is hard for anyone that's listening, but embrace the change. The only thing that's going to remain the same is change at this time. So we have to, I always say, if you go to the beach, I'm a big beach goer. And if you think you're going to withstand the wave, that wave is going to knock you over. So you might as well learn how to ride the wave. So we're learning how to ride the wave in recent times, as you shared before. So now I'm spending more time maybe out in public, trying to meet new people. I do feel 2024 will become more social. I feel the last 3 years we were a lot of, you know, isolation, more isolation. And I share, you know, God puts us in isolation so that when we're away from everything, we could actually embrace what is our authentic frequency. And then we get placed back into reality. And then we start attracting all these new situations, new people, according to that new frequency. You don't want the old dense frequency. So yeah, so going out in public, I'm starting to realize this, because when you are, say, in isolation and you don't go out a lot, and you know, I see my community, you see your community, and we think that this is the whole world. And then you go out there and you say, you know what, now I understand. I had a lot of learning to do myself, because like how you talking about overachieving, I'm like, let's go. Like, but to go out there and really be in the public, it does take a bit of time. So people are struggling. A lot of people, they maybe even attack what they don't understand. So we are seeing that. I feel in this past year, everyone is dealing with something that we all, and it's no one's fault really, because we're in this world, this inverted matrix, and we took on these densities. So now this energy is like, it's purged. So it's like, so everyone's dealing with their situation. And I talk about solar flares, and the solar flare energy, you can't look at things as good or bad. It just is. And what it does is it takes whatever is inside of you and highlights it. So it can make you rise up, and it can make you spiral out of control. So what is your experience with that? Are you seeing people make that split, that divide?
I see people, this is what I see. The light gets lighter, the dark gets darker. And I think we're going to continue to see that play out over the next couple of years. Light, lighter, dark, darker, which is kind of like, it's kind of like me saying the crazies are going to get crazier. And those who step into peace and step into their inner alignment are almost not going to see it and not going to be so affected by it. But you're certainly going to see, it's like a pendulum swinging. You're going to see people on the extremes of a very big pendulum swing. And all of those extremes are ultimately bringing us into a middle integrated ground. But until that happens, I think we're going to see a lot of the division among people. I feel like we're going to see a lot of polarization within people. And you know, I know that anybody listening is going to go, oh, Kerry, we've already seen that. You know, we've seen polarization, we've seen division, and I know we have, but I don't think we've seen anything like we're about to see. I feel like what we are about to see, and this isn't fear mongering, because remember what I said, the light gets lighter, and the lighter the light gets, the less the dark even impacts that light. But nonetheless, I think that we're going to see people go into a polarization, what we may think of as people being really opinionated. I think we're going to see people becoming violently opinionated to the point that it's going to be like, listen, if you don't agree with me, not only are you wrong, because that's where we currently are. We're currently in that place. Like, if you don't agree with me, you're bad. And that in itself is an insanity, but that's going to go crazy. It's going to go like, if you don't agree with me, you don't deserve to live. That's where we're going to see people potentially go to that level of depravity and that level of darkness, which I know this is going to sound odd when I said, but it's okay. You know why it's okay? Because that's just the darkness undoing itself. That is just the darkness in its own death throes. That is exactly what darkness does. It lands up not having any light to feed upon. And when darkness doesn't have light to feed upon, then what's it going to do? It's going to turn on itself. It's almost designed to do that. It's designed to become its own undoing. This is my firm belief about darkness. I do not believe that we have to fight it. I do not believe we have to banish it. I do not believe we have to do anything except be the light that we are, amplified, amplified, amplified. Because the more we can do that, the more we leave darkness to unravel itself. And this is exactly what we're beginning to see. So that unhingedness in society that we see, that is the darkness and depravity beginning the process of undoing itself. But I think a difficult place to be is caught in the middle. In other words, I think a difficult place to be for people is where they haven't yet decided for themselves, I am a being of light, or nah, ascension and spirituality is not really my shtick. I'm not here to do it this lifetime. Those people who are caught in between, I think they're going to have a difficult time. But the people who have become really centered in love, in themselves, in truth, in kindness, those people are the light that gets lighter. And the dark gets darker. It's the ones who are in between. And if you really look at society right now, there's actually very few people in between. There's very few people left anymore with a foot in each world. Mainly, we have people either in that unconsciousness or in the evolving consciousness. We don't, because, it's almost like we're going to do the splits. Those two worlds are so separate. The world of darkness and the world of light, it's so far apart that we can't even stretch ourselves anymore to be in the middle. So that's where I'm seeing people headed. But I want to ask you a question, Michael. What did you, because now you said to me that you went out into the public, which I haven't been brave enough to do. I go to the mall. Like I go to the beach a lot. The beach is just over there. I'm really close. It's, so I'm around people, but I don't necessarily say how you doing and have a chit chat. I kind of keep my distance, a healthy distance from them. So my question to you is, what did you see interacting with the world out there? What did you learn? What did you see?
So yeah, my situation, has changed. I feel, first of all, everyone, I look at it as it again, I guess everything's in threes, a 3-year situation. So we all know in 2020, everything was closed. So that was like, then you really was in isolation, like it was forced. And then there are certain points, and then we all, had our situations where we had to like make changes in our life. But now like things are starting to calm down. So for me, like, I joined a new gym. It's a really big gym. A lot of people go there, and meeting so many different people, and people that I just see two reactions just from my presence. And there's people that will glow, and there's people that will growl,
Oh, yeah, I
just
like
for
the
my
way you said.
presence. Just so, some
Yeah.
people, they might not even be able to look at you. They see you, and they run, or something like that. But really, seeing the contrast, um, people that maybe aren't getting to an extent. So like I always say too, like everyone has the free will choice to live however they want. So like, for example, you don't have to go to the gym, or you don't have to even do a spiritual. All you have to do is exist. You're actually here to observe. Tesla said, be the observer. they say you have to have an observer so we're all here to observe the timeline. I guess they call them the watchers too. You might be
Mhm.
the watchers. So we're actually only here to exist. I just see such a contrast just by observing. And the one thing I could tell people: know thyself. Know thyself. Like you just said, like whatever it is, just be you. Be authentic. People could live 99 years and they don't know who they are. And it
Mhm.
actually breaks my heart to actually see that within people. And when you reach that place, I did a video, master the art of not giving a shift.
Ah, that's
But
so good.
yeah, but don't I've reached a place. You don't like me, that's fine. And if you love me, that's great. But I got to be me. And there's a lot of research. These are things that I'll be really breaking down on my channel. And again, if anyone is new to me, you could subscribe to my channel, Our Everyday Lives, and subscribe to Kerry's channel, Kerry K. The
That's it.
double K. I gave you
The double
I
K
have to give
hero.
everyone nicknames.
Yeah.
So you have to really know thyself.
Mm.
And when you are not authentic, your health suffers. So your literal lifespan, your health, your everyday life health is actually determined if you live authentically or not. And I actually went through this, and I'll be sharing a lot about my journey. But I feel, and listen, like you said, we are in this matrix. So we are in. I think we discussed this. You're familiar with Dolores Cannon.
Mm. Mm.
Are in Earth School, and no one. This is about the content of character. A lot of people live in the ego. There even might be people out there with a big fancy ring light, and they have a channel, or they talk, or they're on TV. I show it on TV, Kerry. It's gotta be real. um, so there's a lot of people out there. Um,
Mm.
be be neutral, and
Mm.
that's going to be my journey. I am open-minded to everything. I'm just
Mm.
going to sit back. I'm going to relax. I'm just going to share who I am. And I've shared this before. The lighthouse doesn't have to run out and get the boats. The lighthouse just stands there
Yeah.
and blasts
Yeah.
the light. And that's all that I'm going to do. And I will tell people, um, I have no opinions on anyone that I don't know personally, because
Mm.
I'm seeing this. There's even a sports talk show. They talk about this too. This guy, he started his sports talk show from the ground up, and now it's pretty famous. And he was sharing this too, and how people will slander and make things up. So if I don't know a person personally and have a conversation with them, like I work with you, I don't know. And
Yeah.
I share that with people. Like, don't trust anyone. I literally did a video on this. It's still on the channel page, and it lasts the test of time. Don't trust anyone until the end,
Mm.
because you don't know. Like, there's, you know, we talk about the solar flash, and we're in this illusion, and until the illusion is gone, you don't know. So you got to get out there. You have to meet people, know people, and I'm, I see your work, and I'm so proud of you. And it's it also could be the lens that I'm in, being in America, because there is a Jezebel energy, if you will, within women.
Mm.
And to see a woman like you, a mother, a wife, doing this work with all of that responsibility,
Mm.
you're the best.
Yeah.
You and
Told you I was tired.
I know, and
Mm.
everyone has their own everyone has their own journey, and we don't
Mm.
know what, like
Mm.
that's a lot of responsibilities, and it's wonderful to see a powerful woman, like you. And I think that that's what we need. I think we need more powerful women and men. Um, you know, weak men create tough times. That's a famous quote. I think,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
So true.
and also nagging women create weak men. So
Yeah.
we all have to take out the accountability mirror, and all we
Yeah.
could do is be the change that we want to see in the world. And we have to hold this frequency for a sustained period of time. And the ascension journey is not unicorns and rainbows. We've shared that. What we need are warriors. And you're a warrior, and I'm a warrior. It's my honor to share the screen with you, and I'm proud of you. And I want this to be a lighthouse. And everyone, if this message resonates with you, share this message, because these are the people that we need and the lighthouses of the world. And it's not about being popular. It's about being authentic. So whatever it is, and listen, we all go through these things. I've seen it well. I mean, you know a little bit about my story, and to have the highs and then the lows and have to start all over again. Just keep going, because this life is not easy. This time period is not easy. It's a biblical time period, whether you want to say light workers, whether you want to say rapture, whether you want to say solar flash, whether you want to say apocalypse, which is not a bad thing. It's just a great revealing. But it is a
Yeah.
lot for a person. You say, oh wow, I'm learning all this stuff at once. You kind of need to, you feel burnt out, as you said before. You need to go
Yeah.
slow. You need to integrate the upgrades, integrate the energy. Every energy is just rising up. Tesla said light is information. So the spiritual community, all the spiritual wackadoos out there like us, right? The light codes, but light codes are a real thing. Light is information. And if you go into a dark room and you've never navigated this room, we are in uncharted waters now. I did a video, uncharted waters. It's uncharted. There's no map. So when you go in the room, if you're in your room, kind of. But if you're in a place and you've never been in there before and the lights are off, you start banging into the coffee table, you stub your toe on the chair. You don't have the information. Darkness is just a lack of information. Knowledge is power. Therefore, the lack of knowledge is the lack of power. On a daily basis, I take ownership. I want to learn something new every day. And, I've gone through periods of time, and every person, like you said, some people are leading the charge. It's the waves of volunteers that Dolores Cannon spoke about. So we're coming in as waves. And how you said the front runners
Yeah.
we're all switching roles.
Yeah.
And so we're doing this right now.
Mm.
And it's funny too, because this actually happens in a microcosm on my Patreon. And I'll share, and then I'll take a step back and I'll let someone else is talking and sharing, because this is a puzzle and everyone has a specific piece of the puzzle, and we all kind of like put it together. So it's important that everyone knows that their role. Like you said, everyone's role is different, but we don't all have the same role. And how do you know your role? Know your role. You have to actually figure it out yourself. No one can tell you. But when you sit alone, the isolation period is important. You sit there, and then it comes, because all the it's it's the divine things of the confirmations of the universe. When you are sitting alone, without the chatter, without the distractions. We were talking about that before we got on. People, Kerry, will come into your life. They're just the distractions, but these are it's to maybe make you tougher. And we meet, you and I. It's the same energy theme. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's something that we all go through,
Mm.
and it is the energy theme. But I've been sharing about holding the frequency of the brand new timeline. We're on a brand new timeline, and you have to have the inexhaustible belief that you're there. And that's where people think it's 1 minute and then everything is done. So a person themselves can cause a quantum event. I know you shared about that earlier.
Oh, yeah.
The quantum.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can timeline jump collectively, and we can take quantum jumps collectively, but we can also do it individually. And we should also be working at the individual level. And it's because of what I call the overachievers, right? The front runners who have been doing so much that the entire timeline gets lifted. But you're not going to do it for, because I hear a lot of people do this thing like, oh, I'm doing this for the collective. You can't do something for the collective. You could only do something for yourself. And in doing something for yourself, the side effect of that is that the collective will benefit. But we become martyrs, when we have this mentality of like, oh, I'm doing it for them, for everyone else. We have to come into this mindset of feeding the self and fueling the self. And I love where you went with your rest and digest. My word is integration. And it's the same thing. And this is, what I love, Michael, when we chat is like, it's different language and different ways of saying the same thing, actually. And a question I wanted to ask you earlier is, where did you get the 3 years from? Like, where did you get, we're doing 3 years in one? How did you get that?
So a lot of things I feel that, especially that, like you called, we're front runners, and we're here sharing. So ascension symptoms, which we'll get to in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a lot of times and it doesn't mean, like you said, we're better than anyone else. God knows that we're out sharing, and linear time is fake. So there is fake time, but it is always a time period. So for example, I might feel something, a day before others, and someone, might feel it the next day and then the following day. It's usually like three days as well. Just the way that my year actually could be broken up into thirds. So it was almost just like I just listen to what God tells me. And again, some things are not just like this is an exact spoken word. Some people might take that literal, but I literally went through change lessons, and it was like 3 years all wrapped up into one. And I could clearly break down, and I know my first third and the middle third and now the final third of the year. And I could look at any one of these thirds, and I could say this is like a full year of stuff like all at once. So
Yeah.
that was just like
Yeah. Yeah.
I look at it, it was given to me, and
Right.
that's what I
Yeah.
take of it. I
Yeah.
do feel it's speeding up the time,
Yeah.
and it's something that we have discussed. And one of the things that I've shared on my channel is the solar flares and ascension symptoms, and the past few weeks. How's your how's your ascension symptoms the last few weeks?
Crazy, man. The last few weeks, you know what? If you would have asked me this a year ago, I would have said to you, what ascension symptoms? What are you talking about? I don't speak your language, because like I really never ever felt this thing called ascension symptoms. This year is the first year that I can say to you, oh, is that what they are? Now I'm feeling ascension symptoms. And I'll share with you a little bit about the ascension symptoms that I've experienced. And I know a lot of people out there have experienced some very, very difficult ones. The reason I asked you, Michael, how did you know 3 years in the future, or rather 3 years in one, how did you know, is because I wanted to make a point. And the point is, you knew because you are connected. And this is the gift that we all have, is the gift to connect to ourselves. And when we connect to ourselves, in the egolessness, we connect to truth. You called it neutrality earlier. You spoke about, I'm going to be neutral. And I talk about sacred neutrality. It's the same thing. Sacred neutrality is that space of non-judgment, unconditional acceptance, and therein is unconditional peace. And the more we can be in that alignment, that which is called divine alignment, the more we navigate in that space, the fewer ascension symptoms we're going to experience. But when we have a lot of density to discharge, it's the density that we're discharging that comes up against the influx of divinity that's coming in. Now these two energies are meeting, they're chatting, they're interacting. And when we have that interaction in the body, for the most part, what the body does is the body goes, invader, intruder. As that light comes in, the body starts going into a shutdown, almost like it's unconsciously, subconsciously, because we were kind of trained to do this, to block away the unknown, to push it away. And the unknown in this case is God. It's cosmic light. It's the universe itself. And when we unconsciously and unwittingly push away or disown or whatever it is, that divinity, we then have this malalignment, which we often experience as ascension symptoms. So they're not bad and they're not good. It's just how we experience the light coming into the density and the density discharging, but not really wanting to discharge, wanting rather to hook in and stick around. So then we get stuff like ringing in the ears and blah, blah, blah. For me personally, lungs. Lungs. I've had serious lung issues. I shared with you. And by the way, thank you for being such an amazing friend. I had pneumonia. Everyone, I was properly sick. At first, I got tick bite fever. And as if that wasn't enough, a week after getting tick bite fever, I got pneumonia. And it was just this, what felt like an onslaught of ill health. And Michael, I'm a really healthy person. I'm a really vital person. This is very, very out of character for me to really get this properly sick. And I did. And it was all centered around my lungs. And it's not to say everyone is going to have ascension symptoms around their lungs, but a lot of people did. And I noticed this in my comments, because even when I had pneumonia, I was still coughing and spluttering through videos. I still put up videos, mostly on TikTok and Instagram, because those are pretty short videos. And so I could do like a minute or a 2-minute vid. And a lot of people commented and they said, oh my God, I've also got a lung thing going on. And the lungs, this is very often to do with grief, and it's very often to do with sadness, and it's very often to do with the letting go. And I put up a video recently about grief. I put up a video about like how we're letting go of so much right now. And it causes this influx of sorrow and this influx of grief, because ultimately we're letting go of who we thought we were. And that can show up as an ascension symptom, perhaps in the lungs, perhaps in the eyes, perhaps it's crying, perhaps it's just tears, you know? So everybody, to me, there's no one hard and fast way that everybody's meant to have ascension symptoms. Your body's going to do it the way your body's wisdom knows how to do it. And I must put a disclaimer in here. I'm probably the only spiritual wackadoo that I know that puts this disclaimer in. Whenever I speak about ascension symptoms, guys, I beg you, don't write every single thing that you feel in your body off to an ascension symptom, because sometimes it's genuinely something that needs a doctor or a therapist or help at some level. Don't make the mistake of saying, oh, obviously this is an ascension symptom, when it could be something that honestly warrants investigation. I'm not telling you who to go to. You're wise enough to know who your practitioners and therapists are that you trust, but go to people if you need help. Because you know what, Michael, somebody said to me, oh, Kerry, I've been bedridden, Michael, for 2 years because of ascension symptoms. And I said, no. That's not ascension symptoms. That's illness. It's different. So talking about ascension symptoms, it's something that comes and goes, right? It ebbs and flows. It can't be like I'm always in this state of ill health. That's no longer an ascension symptom then. An ascension symptom is something that correlates to the energetic influxes that we experience. So when we have the light coming in, yes, we can have density discharge. And yes, that can show up in a little bit of resistance, a little bit of body aches, pains, symptoms, etc. That can absolutely show up, but then it must alleviate. And in its place, there is now a higher instinct, a higher wisdom, a higher, deeper intuition. There's something that comes in after that ascension symptom. So it's got to be the ebb and the flow. We cannot expect that it's always going to be this terrible influx of ascension symptoms. Do you feel the same? Do you feel like people write too much off to ascension symptoms?
Well, what I wanted to touch on, which is in alignment, which we were also discussing. So when the energy comes in, and if we think of our body and we think of the chakra system, and chakra in the ancient Sanskrit means spinning wheel of energy. And for you on your journey, you experienced it in your lungs at the time, while I felt it in my solar plexus. And for me, and I try to be honest with everyone, like going back to my work days, I struggled with a lot of anxiety, so you could have things in your life. And that was something that I always, it's like, always worried, trying to, because I guess you're raised right, and you always, you want to do the right thing. So I carried a lot of anxiety throughout the years, and you know, it's time to say no more to this. We're not going to have this. So for me, when that energy comes in at that time, that's where I was hit in the stomach. So yeah, it could affect you according to what is within you,
Mm,
because we're all different. And I,
mm,
I shared on my journey when I first had the ringing in the ears and I had this symptom and the skull. I was terrified, and I went to the doctor to go have my ears checked out.
mm,
And I shared my whole funny story about that. But yeah, I mean, just by going to the doctor and having him, check me out and say, oh, you know what, you're okay, everything's fine. That alone just gives you peace of mind, because uncharted
mm,
waters, again, it's terror. It's scary
mm.
when you're experiencing things that you never experienced before. So that was, and I could look back, you know, we have these experiences,
Yeah.
and it gives, when you share about ascension symptoms, I feel like it does give people comfort, because
Mm,
I was there. My
mm.
my ears. I don't, I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
So at least I had someone to talk to, and and we say I'm gonna go get it checked out, and have the doctor is okay. Well, you got perfect hearing. You hear these stories. There's people hear this sound. They don't know. Good
Yeah.
luck. I said,
Yeah.
holy shit.
And that's groovy. Like if a doctor says to you, or a homeopath, or whoever you've gone to says you're cool, it's, I don't know what it is, because normally they can't tell you, right? If it's truly an ascension symptom, then it's an anomaly that medical people can't really pinpoint. And that's great. Like I'm happy to walk away and somebody goes, I don't know why you're dizzy, Kerry. I don't know what the deal is. But do you know, for me personally, I was dizzy for about a year. No jokes. I was dizzy for about a year. And everybody said, oh, it's an ascension symptom. Chill, be cool. It's fine. It'll pass. It didn't pass. And eventually I went to the doctor to find out that I had diabetes. Wasn't an ascension symptom, guys. So that's why. And by the way, I have totally reversed my diabetes, but I had to know that I had it to be able to reverse it. And that was my journey, that was my path. And I don't want people to write stuff off, because it's a very dangerous thing for me. If people just write, oh, I've got like migraines, maybe there's something going on that you need to have checked out. And isn't it beautiful to walk away and have a practitioner say to you, you're cool, there's nothing wrong with you? Then you know, okay, this is genuinely an ascension symptom that I'm working through. Like that would be a happy day for me. But that's just how I feel about ascension symptoms.
Awareness is the precursor to change. So you became
Yeah,
aware of it,
yeah.
and now you were able to make a change. And that was something I talked about in my live stream today. Like, not everything is a unicorn and rainbow.
No,
A
baby.
lot of a
Mm-mm.
lot of this, like ascension, is not like, oh, I had this mystical force and I flew up into the clouds or something like that. I talk about hard work, discipline, making changes in our lives, and
Mm-hmm.
if you're aware of something, you can make the change. And that it's important to be aware of things. In science we say, science answers questions with the information available at the time. So we want to gather as much information as we possibly can, and take every opportunity that you can. And I share, which I also feel we talk about people trolling or whatever, but I feel in the spiritual community, people, like, they just think it's just spiritual and they totally disregard the physical aspects. I share about my working out and training and stuff. You really have to know thyself. I know the ins and outs of my body. I know my point of homeostasis. And then when something is wrong, energy is the ability to cause change. If you notice a change, so maybe something's off. So you really have to know thyself, know yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually, not just one. You got to do all three. And I try to repeat this a lot, and I say this a lot. You have to have patience at this time. A lot of our audiences, they will watch, say, a nice, beautiful conversation like this. And in the world right now, people need it in a 30-second short. That's not ascension. That's not like I
know.
don't know if you've witnessed this as well.
I went
I have.
fuzzy.
Oh, it was my energy. See, I did the energy. I did. No, I'm just kidding. So I have I did a live stream. I get a question or a comment that I literally addressed in the live stream. So I responded to it. I said, did you watch the entire live stream or did you just comment after 3 minutes? So it is need to take ownership. Listen, some people don't like to hear this. We are warriors. We are here to put in work. We are here to be disciplined. And when you do these things and you take ownership of your life, and always remember too, the great words of my Nana, there's a time for this and a time for that. There's a time for work. There's a time for rest. And in 2024, which in the last 3 years, I think a lot of us didn't have, it's now a time for fun.
Yeah. Got to have balance.
I did a video. Don't you want to have fun? I see people in my going like, don't you want to have fun? Like, I'm like, look, like, let's have some fun. So life is not so serious. I would like to share, life is not so serious. Have fun with it. We are in Earth School and we're here to learn stuff. Nobody knows everything. If someone is telling you they know everything, they probably don't know shift, because we're shifting to a new timeline. We're shifting to
Stop talking shift.
So listen, be authentic, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate our friendship, and you are authentic, and that's why we resonate. Before we wrap this up, is there anything else that you would like to share?
Authenticity is and should be the standard to live by. Do you know what spiritual people out there have been brainwashed into, Michael? And I talk a lot on my channels about getting out of the mainstream brainwashing that exists everywhere, including spirituality. People think that somehow everything was infiltrated, like our monetary system was infiltrated, our schooling system was infiltrated, our government was infiltrated. People can look at all of that and go, yeah. And then when I say to them, and the spiritual community was infiltrated, they go, no, no, can't be. Of course, our spiritual community had to be infiltrated with untruths, because why? This is where all the spiritual warriors and the light workers and the star seeds and the real powerhouses came to. These were the guys that needed to be cut off at the knees because these were the most powerful. So we had so much nonsense interwoven into the spiritual community. And one of them was be high vibe, guys. Like, be high vibe only. Be high vibe all the time. Positive thinking every day, which is an insanity, because sometimes you are discharging density. And when you do that, you will feel like shift, to use Michael's beautiful word. You will feel like, I don't want to even get out of bed. And that's okay because that's density departing, but that's authentic. And authenticity is a higher frequency than this supposed high vibe BS that so many people want to attain, which is a perfection that simply doesn't exist and is unreasonable. Authenticity will allow you to be exactly where you are as you are, which gives you license to just stop the pretense and to get real with yourself. And I don't think anyone ever gave us that permission. I don't think the world ever said, listen, you're allowed to be you. Warts and all, however you show up, be fully you, which means some days you're going to look grand and other days you're going to look really shoddy, and that's okay. And some days you're going to feel grand and other days you're going to feel really shoddy, and it's still okay. And some days you'll be confident and some days you'll be insecure. And I promise you, you're still okay. And it's even normal. It's even normal. But we imagine, because people keep posting these picture perfect pictures of themselves, we imagine that somebody is confident all the time and happy all the time, and it's simply unreasonable. So authenticity is the highest vibe that there is, and if you give yourself license to live authentically, then you are living the highest life you possibly can. That's my truth.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love these discussions with you, and
Thanks, Michael.
well, I'm sure there'll be many more in the future.
Yeah.
So just everyone have a knowing, don't kind of think, have the inexhaustible belief that we have jumped timelines, that the things that left your life and the things that fell apart were for a reason. We were on the threshing floor, and you might have been pummeled last year, but in 2024 we are experiencing the year of abundance. It is the 8 year. So abundance is coming, and abundance could come in many ways. So as I've shared many times, don't be literal about things. Think of things just as an energy theme, and focus overall on sovereignty. Be free, be yourself, and then everything else will fall into place. So I love you. I love everyone that's watching. If anyone has found me, grateful if you could subscribe to my channel. It's Our Everyday Lives. The link is in the description, and we'll be sharing this, getting this out. And please subscribe to Kerry K. And we just keep moving forward, and that's all you have to do is just show up every single day. No expectations. You don't have to do it all at once. Just focus in the new year on being just 1% better. And over time, 1% better, at the end of the year, you're going to turn around and you're going to be on the brand new timeline. I love you all. We'll do this again real soon. Take care.
Thank you.